Hey guys, it's Saga, and in this video, I'm going to compare the cameras on the iPhone XR with the ones on the iPhone 14. Some of the guys who wanted to upgrade from their iPhone XR asked me in the comments to make this video, and since I had both these phones, I thought why not. This video is strictly for someone who is looking to upgrade from the iPhone XR. Please don't take it as a reason to upgrade to the iPhone XR if you are coming from an even older iPhone. As long as that is clear, let us go ahead. iPhone XR had a single 12 megapixel camera on its back with a sensor size of 1x2.55 inch, f1.8 aperture, 26mm lens and optical image stabilization. Whereas the iPhone 14 gets dual 12 megapixel sensors on its back, where the size of the main image sensor is much larger at 1x1.65 inch. It gets f1.5 aperture, 26mm lens and sensor shift image stabilization. The secondary camera gets another 12 megapixel sensor with f2.4 aperture and a 13mm ultra wide angle lens. For the front facing cameras, iPhone XR gets a 7 megapixel sensor with f2.2 aperture, whereas the newer iPhone 14 gets a 12 megapixel sensor with f1.9 aperture, much wider field of view and autofocusing capabilities. With that, let us move on to the image and video samples from both these phones, and we will be starting with the ones which I took in bright daylight. I think this might be the widest gap in terms of years between the phone cameras that I have tested on this channel. Just so that you guys know, iPhone 14 came out right now in 2022 and the iPhone XR was launched in 2018. So there is a 4 years difference between these cameras. Despite of this big time difference, do you really see a huge gap between these two images straight away? Maybe if you look at these shots for a while, but not right away, and I think this is still a big compliment for the iPhone XR's camera and Apple's image processing. iPhone 14 is definitely capturing much more details, and I don't think you need to zoom in too much to see the extra bit of details in its images. But if I zoom in anyways, you will see how much more details it has captured. iPhone XR's images just look soft in comparison when compared side by side. Even the colors look a bit richer in iPhone 14's images. All that being said, if you look at the images from the iPhone XR alone, they still look good and it can still go head to head with many of the mid-budget Android phones with way more megapixels. Now I was really surprised with these two images. I clicked them and straight away I liked the one from the iPhone XR better. Even as I zoom in, I can't say that the iPhone 14 has really captured much more details in this specific shot. I shared these two images on Twitter in a blind test and asked people to tell which of these images look better, and 90% of the people voted for the image from the iPhone XR. So yes, in some very specific conditions when there is ample light, iPhone XR can still end up with just as good looking images as the latest iPhone 14. In other daytime conditions, iPhone 14's images have slightly more contrast which make them look and feel more detailed, while ones from the iPhone XR look a bit flat. This is the trend that you will see in most of the images. iPhone 14's images are generally sharper with slightly better looking colors. I'm not just saying this for the sake of it. 14 gets a bigger image sensor so it captures more information. Plain and simple. Colors in the images from the iPhone XR are a bit muted and slightly on the cooler side, whereas ones from the iPhone 14 are more saturated, vibrant and they also have slightly warmer look. The actual colors of the scene were somewhere between both these phones. They weren't as dull as in the iPhone XR's shot and not as saturated as they look in the iPhone 14's images. If you don't like colors from the iPhone 14, it gives you option of different photographic styles where you can adjust the vibrance, warmth, tone and contrast of these images according to your liking. These are not just filters that are applied on top of your images like on the iPhone XR and other phones, but these photographic styles are baked deep in your shot. You can set and choose a specific style and have it applied to all of the images that you take. When it comes to high dynamic range situations, the Smart HDR mode on the iPhone 14 is much improved over the iPhone XR. In this shot, iPhone 14 did much better and preserved the details in the highlights while bringing up a lot of details on the shadows as well. On the other hand, iPhone XR tried to preserve the highlights, but it did not bring up any details in the shadows, making the shot look very dark. In this one, we have the sun peeking out from behind the porch, and now in the hopes of bringing up the shadows, iPhone XR completely blew up the highlights. iPhone 14 did a better job and captured a balanced image. While I think the iPhone 14's dynamic range should have been even better in comparison to the latest Android flagships, but from this comparison, we can see that it is doing much better compared to the previous iPhones. In this shot, XR did much better with the dynamic range. Not as good as the iPhone 14, but better than its previous images. So if the situation isn't too demanding, then the iPhone XR can still take some good HDR shots. But switching to the iPhone 14 will help you deliver much better looking HDR shots. iPhone 14 is much faster than the XR when it comes to setting focus on a nearby object. Faster focus is always better for any camera, but this becomes even more important when it comes to taking close-up shots. XR is not bad at setting the focus, it is just a bit slower. But it does let you get slightly more closer to the subject and still set the focus. iPhone 14 gets a physically larger sensor and as the sensor gets bigger, its minimum focusing distance becomes larger. This is not that big of an issue, and if you want to get even more closer to your subject, just zoom in a bit and take your shots at 1.2 or 1.3x digital zoom. All this being said, the resulting close-up shots look really good from both the phones, but the subject looks sharper in the iPhone 14's image, and the background in its shot is also much smoother thanks to f1.5 aperture. Coming to my favorite mode on any smartphone, the portrait mode. While shooting portrait shots, I found one of the biggest differences between these phones, and I could notice how much faster the iPhone 14 has got compared to the iPhone XR. On the iPhone 14, portrait mode or edge detection is almost always ready when I point the phone at a subject, but the iPhone XR takes much longer to detect the edges, and in almost all of these shots, it asks me to move closer to the subject. Once the shots are clicked though, I think they look good from both the phones. The subjects in iPhone 14's images are much sharper and brighter. It is also showing the colors how they were, while the iPhone XR is trying to cool the shots down for some reason. The edge detection is a bit more refined on the iPhone 14, but not by a huge margin, which goes to show how good it was to begin with on the iPhone XR. If you are like me and you like to take a lot of portrait shots, especially in indoor lighting conditions, then you would love going from the iPhone XR to the 14. Now because the iPhone XR gets a single camera at the back, it cannot take wide shots like the iPhone 14, and it also doesn't have the ability to take portrait shots of objects. So we will head straight to the image samples which I took in artificial and lower lighting conditions. At this point onwards, we start seeing the gap between their images getting wider and wider. iPhone 14 gets a much bigger image sensor which captures a lot of information, a wider aperture which lets in even more light on it, better image stabilization, and much improved image processing thanks to the A15 Bionic chip. All of this helps it get such improved images over the iPhone XR. 14's images are not only brighter, but they also have more details, less noise, and better looking colors in these lighting conditions. Once the light gets even lower, iPhone XR can barely keep up and its images start showing even more noise, and they just look very soft overall. If I zoom in, you can see that iPhone XR's images look almost foggy in front of the ones from the iPhone 14. So indoor and nighttime shots is where you see the biggest difference between these two phones, and if you take most of your images in these lighting conditions, and if you are upgrading from the iPhone XR to 14, you are in for a treat. That brings us to the front-facing cameras on both these phones. Now there is a difference between the megapixel count on the selfie cameras on both these phones, but even more than that, the image processing for the selfie camera saw the biggest jump this year, and this is something that you will definitely notice when you are looking at these images. 14 selfies are just so much sharper with a ton of details and better looking skin tones and overall colors. iPhone 14's front-facing camera now also gets autofocus, which is one of the factors helping its images look better. iPhone XR selfies almost look like they have a softer filter applied on it when comparing these two side by side. Edge detection for the portrait shots also gets better going from the iPhone XR to 14, and now the phone does much better to get your hair, ear, and glasses in focus. You can just look at the remaining images and decide for yourself how much better ones from the iPhone 14 are. Here's a video from the front-facing camera of the iPhone 14 and the iPhone XR. You can see how both these phones are handling the overall colors of the scene, exposure, and stabilization when I'm walking around with them. You can also check and let me know in the comments which of these do you think is handling my voice better. Both the phones can shoot 4K 60fps videos with their main camera, but the subject seems to be slightly sharper and the colors also look more natural in the iPhone 14's videos. Its video also has better stabilization and you won't see jitters which each off my step like we see from the iPhone XR in some of the cases. iPhone 14 also gets some new features like the action mode for rock steady video at 2.8K resolution and the ability to shoot cinematic mode videos in 4K resolution. Cinematic mode is just like having portrait mode but for shooting videos. For a lot more image and video samples from the iPhone 14's camera, you guys should definitely check my detailed camera review about it. With that, we have seen over 100 image and video samples from both these phones combined, and it should be no surprise that iPhone 14's images are better than the ones from the iPhone XR in some way or the other. Yes, we did see a couple of images where the ones from the iPhone XR seemed better, but that doesn't happen more than once or twice. During the daytime, we see more details, better colors, better dynamic range and faster focusing from the iPhone 14, and in indoors or in low lighting conditions, it again has much more information in each shot, less noise and better looking colors with usable images even in very low light. Selfies are also hugely improved. So if you are planning to upgrade your phone from the iPhone XR to 14, then do it without any hesitation. You will be getting a hugely improved overall set of cameras and a more effective overall phone with better display, slightly more manageable form factor, much newer internals and a longer battery life. Are you someone who is looking to upgrade your phone from the iPhone XR to 14? Or do you have any other phones in mind which you wish to upgrade to? Let me know in the comments. that is it for this video, guys. Please hit the like button if you enjoyed this video and subscribe to the channel for a lot more quality tech videos like this. You can also check out some of the other videos from this channel. This has been Sagar, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Take care.